Have you ever wondered what would happen to your body if you ate an absurd amount of butter? I'm talking about 100 tablespoons in just 10 days. Well, that's precisely what I did, and in this essay, I'm going to share the journey with you. This isn't just about satisfying some strange craving, it's about challenging conventional wisdom and understanding the real impact of saturated fat on our bodies. We've all heard the warnings about saturated fat. It clogs arteries, raises cholesterol, and leads to heart disease. But is it really that simple? I wanted to put these claims to the test, not just by reading studies, but by experiencing the effects firsthand. This experiment is about pushing the limits and seeing what happens when we consume a large amount of saturated fat in a short period. For decades, saturated fat has been demonized as a dietary villain, linked to a myriad of health problems. We're constantly bombarded with messages to avoid it at all costs, opting instead for low-fat alternatives that often come loaded with sugar and processed ingredients. The standard narrative suggests that consuming saturated fat leads to elevated cholesterol levels, particularly the bad LDL cholesterol. However, emerging research challenges this simplistic view of saturated fat, suggesting that its impact on health is far more nuanced than previously thought. Some studies have shown that replacing saturated fat with refined carbohydrates, such as white bread and sugary drinks, may actually worsen heart health markers. Before we dive into the details of my butter-laden experiment, it's essential to understand that this is a single case study. While my results are intriguing, they shouldn't be interpreted as a prescription for everyone to start consuming butter with reckless abandon. Genetics, lifestyle factors, and overall health status all play a role in how our bodies respond to different dietary interventions. It's crucial to approach this information with a critical eye and to consult with your healthcare provider before making any significant dietary changes. Today we're diving into the often confusing world of blood fats, specifically triglycerides. These tiny molecules are often demonized, but they play a crucial role in our bodies. Triglycerides are a type of fat, or lipid, that serve as our body's primary energy source. However, consistently high levels of triglycerides in the bloodstream, known as hypertriglyceridemia, have been linked to an increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and other health problems. The consumption of refined carbohydrates, particularly sugar, can significantly impact triglyceride levels. As we've established, fat and water don't mix. This presents a challenge for our bodies as blood, our internal transportation system, is primarily composed of water. The answer lies in ingenious particles called lipoproteins. Lipoproteins are like tiny spherical ships that transport lipids including triglycerides and cholesterol throughout the body. This clever design allows lipoproteins to carry triglycerides and other lipids through the bloodstream, delivering these essential molecules to various tissues and organs. Among the various lipoproteins, very low-density lipoproteins or VLDLs and low-density lipoproteins or LDLs are often at the center of discussions about cholesterol and heart health. VLDLs are like large cargo ships, assembled in the liver and loaded with triglycerides. As VLDLs circulate in the bloodstream, they interact with an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which acts like a dock worker, unloading triglycerides from the VLDL cargo ship and delivering them to the surrounding cells. As triglycerides are unloaded, VLDL particles shrink in size and increase in density, gradually transforming into intermediate density lipoproteins or IDLs, and eventually into LDLs. While VLDLs and LDLs are busy delivering triglycerides and cholesterol, high-density lipoproteins or HDLs, often dubbed good cholesterol, act as the body's cleanup crew, picking up excess cholesterol and returning it to the liver for processing and excretion. This process, known as reverse cholesterol transport, is crucial for maintaining healthy cholesterol levels and preventing the buildup of plaque in the arteries. Unlike VLDLs and LDLs, which become denser as they unload their cargo, HDLs actually increase in size as they collect cholesterol. Maintaining healthy HDL levels is an important aspect of cardiovascular health. Now that we've explored the intricate world of lipoproteins, let's delve into the fascinating relationship between insulin, a hormone produced by the pancreas, and triglycerides, our primary energy source. Insulin acts like a key that unlocks the doors of our cells, allowing glucose, the sugar we derive from carbohydrates, to enter and be used for energy. When we consume carbohydrates, our blood glucose levels rise, triggering the release of insulin from the pancreas. Insulin not only promotes glucose uptake but also plays a role in fat storage. The conventional view of fat and cholesterol has long dominated dietary guidelines and public health messaging. This model suggests that consuming saturated fat directly translates to higher cholesterol levels, leading to clogged arteries and an increased risk of heart disease. However, this simplistic view fails to capture the complexities of lipid metabolism and the interplay of various factors, including insulin's role. By focusing solely on reducing dietary fat, particularly saturated fat, the standard model may inadvertently promote the consumption of refined carbohydrates and added sugars. At the heart of the matter lies insulin resistance, a condition in which our cells become less responsive to insulin signals. This resistance forces the pancreas to produce more insulin, leading to chronically elevated levels of this hormone in the bloodstream, a condition known as hyperinsulinemia. Insulin resistance is often rooted in a diet high in refined carbohydrates and added sugars. Addressing insulin resistance requires a multifaceted approach that includes dietary modifications, such as reducing refined carbohydrate intake and increasing healthy fats and fiber. Section 4, the 10-day butter experiment, setting the stage. Now that we've laid the groundwork for understanding the complexities of blood fat and the role of insulin, let's circle back to my 10-day butter experiment. My goal was to consume 100 tablespoons of butter over 10 days, averaging 10 tablespoons per day. I meticulously tracked my food intake throughout the experiment, ensuring that the majority of my calories came from fat, primarily saturated fat from the butter. Before embarking on this experiment, I had blood work done to establish baseline levels for various markers, including triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, glucose, and insulin. Section 1. Challenging assumptions, the butter experiment begins. With a healthy dose of skepticism towards conventional wisdom and a desire to understand my own body's response to dietary fat, I embarked on my 10-day butter experiment. Armed with a hefty supply of butter and a detailed spreadsheet to track my food intake, I dove headfirst into the world of high-saturated fat living. This meant incorporating butter into nearly every meal and snack, often melting it over vegetables, adding it to coffee, or simply consuming a spoonful for a quick energy boost. Throughout the experiment, I paid close attention to my body's signals, monitoring for any digestive discomfort, energy fluctuations, or changes in mood. Section 2. The power of insulin sensitivity. Central to understanding the results of my experiment and indeed the complexities of blood fat regulation is the concept of insulin sensitivity. Insulin, as we've discussed, plays a pivotal role in managing blood sugar levels, but its influence extends far beyond glucose metabolism. Insulin sensitivity refers to how effectively our cells respond to insulin signals. When our cells are highly sensitive to insulin, they readily absorb glucose from the bloodstream, keeping blood sugar levels stable and preventing the need for excessive insulin production. However, when we consistently consume a diet high in refined carbohydrates and sugars, our cells become bombarded with insulin. Over time, this can lead to insulin resistance, a state in which our cells become less responsive to insulin signals. Insulin resistance sets the stage for a cascade of metabolic disturbances, including elevated triglycerides, reduced HDL cholesterol levels, increased inflammation, and an increased risk of chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even certain types of cancer. Improving insulin sensitivity, on the other hand, has a profound impact on our metabolic health. It helps regulate blood sugar levels, reduces triglyceride production, promotes healthy cholesterol levels, and reduces inflammation throughout the body. The results of my butter experiment, which we'll delve into shortly, underscore the importance of insulin sensitivity in understanding fat metabolism. Contrary to what conventional wisdom might predict, my triglyceride levels remained remarkably stable despite consuming a very high-fat diet. This unexpected outcome highlights the fact that dietary fat, even saturated fat, is not the sole driver of triglyceride levels. When our cells are insulin sensitive, we are better equipped to utilize fat for energy, preventing its excessive accumulation in the bloodstream. Conversely, when insulin resistance sets in, our bodies become less efficient at burning fat for fuel. This leads to an increase in triglyceride production and storage, even if our dietary fat intake remains relatively low. The key takeaway here is that addressing insulin resistance is paramount for optimizing fat metabolism and maintaining healthy triglyceride levels. This involves adopting a holistic approach that includes dietary modifications, regular physical activity, stress management, and adequate sleep. The results of my experiment, along with a growing body of scientific evidence, challenge the long-held belief that all dietary fat, particularly saturated fat, is inherently harmful. While it's crucial to prioritize healthy fat sources and consume them in moderation, we needn't fear fat as the dietary villain it's often portrayed to be. In fact, incorporating healthy fats into our diets can provide numerous health benefits. They contribute to satiety, helping us feel fuller for longer and potentially aiding in weight management. They provide essential fatty acids that our bodies cannot produce on their own, supporting cell function, hormone production, and brain health. Moreover, focusing on healthy fats while reducing refined carbohydrate and sugar intake can improve insulin sensitivity, leading to better blood sugar control, healthier cholesterol levels, and reduced inflammation. This shift in perspective emphasizes a holistic approach to nutrition, focusing on food quality and its impact on our metabolic health. Remember, the journey to optimal health is not about rigid dietary restrictions, but about understanding our individual needs and making informed choices that support our overall well-being. By challenging assumptions, embracing scientific inquiry, and listening to our bodies, we can navigate the complexities of nutrition and pave the way for a healthier, more vibrant life. After 10 days of a diet dominated by butter, a collective gasp might ripple through the audience. The expectation? A significant weight gain, perhaps accompanied by a sense of sluggishness and regret. However, the reality was quite different. Stepping on the scale after my butter-laden escapade, I was greeted with a familiar number: 185 pounds. Yes, you read that right. Despite consuming a massive amount of fat, my weight remained unchanged. This outcome, while perhaps surprising to some, aligns with the principles of energy balance. Weight gain ultimately boils down to consuming more calories than we expend. While I didn't meticulously track my calorie intake during the experiment, I remained conscious of my hunger and fullness cues. The satiating nature of fat, particularly in the context of a lower carbohydrate diet, likely played a role in preventing overeating. It's crucial to note that this experiment was not designed to be a weight loss intervention. The primary focus was to assess the impact of a high saturated fat diet on blood lipid levels and insulin sensitivity. However, the weight stability observed provides an interesting anecdote, suggesting that dietary fat, in the absence of excess calories, may not necessarily lead to weight gain. Moving beyond the scale, we delve into the realm of blood work, where the true impact of the butter experiment begins to unfold. First up, we examine the dynamic duo of glucose and insulin, key players in blood sugar regulation and metabolic health. Before embarking on my butter journey, my fasting glucose level clocked in at 95 milligrams per deciliter, placing it within the higher end of the normal range. After 10 days of butter consumption, my fasting glucose had decreased to 84 milligrams per deciliter, a noticeable improvement. This reduction in fasting glucose, while modest, hints at potential improvements in insulin sensitivity. Recall that insulin's primary role is to escort glucose into our cells to be used for energy. When our cells become resistant to insulin signals, glucose struggles to enter the cells, leading to elevated blood sugar levels. The observed decrease in fasting glucose suggests that my cells may have become more receptive to insulin's message, allowing glucose to enter the cells more efficiently. This improvement in insulin sensitivity could be attributed to the reduced carbohydrate intake during the experiment, as carbohydrates have the most significant impact on blood sugar fluctuations. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the triglyceride reveal. Triglycerides are fats in our blood linked to heart disease. Butter was expected to spike my triglycerides, but did it? Before, 56 milligrams per deciliter. After, 54 milligrams per deciliter. Yes, you read that right. My triglycerides stayed stable. This challenges conventional wisdom. Metabolic health matters more. To confirm the triglyceride findings, we examine VLDL, which transports triglycerides in the body. VLDL particles act like cargo ships, ferrying triglycerides from the liver to tissues. They interact with lipoprotein lipase, unloading triglycerides to cells. Elevated VLDL often indicates high triglycerides in the bloodstream. My VLDL level was 9 nanomoles per liter, within the optimal range. After 10 days of butter consumption, my VLDL level remained unchanged. This stability supports effective fat processing and utilization. No significant VLDL increase suggests efficient triglyceride clearance. These findings challenge the belief that high saturated fat diets surge blood lipids. It highlights the importance of individual responses to dietary interventions. The results of my 10-day butter experiment, particularly the stable triglyceride and VLDL levels, serve as a powerful counterpoint to the long-held dogma surrounding saturated fat. For decades we've been told to fear saturated fat, to see it as a dietary villain that clogs our arteries and leads to heart disease. However, my experience, along with a growing body of scientific evidence, suggests that this narrative may be overly simplistic and in some cases misleading. The demonization of saturated fat emerged from observational studies that found a correlation between high saturated fat intake and an increased risk of heart disease. However, correlation does not equal causation. These studies often failed to account for other dietary and lifestyle factors that could contribute to heart disease risk, such as sugar consumption, processed food intake, stress levels, and physical activity. Moreover, recent research has cast doubt on the direct link between saturated fat and heart disease. Some studies have shown that replacing saturated fat with refined carbohydrates, such as white bread, pasta, and sugary drinks, may actually worsen heart health markers. This suggests that the type of carbohydrate we consume, particularly refined carbohydrates that spike blood sugar and insulin levels, may be more detrimental to our cardiovascular health than saturated fat itself. The standard model of heart disease risk assessment often places undue emphasis on cholesterol levels, particularly LDL cholesterol. While it's true that elevated LDL cholesterol levels are associated with an increased risk of heart disease, it's crucial to understand that not all LDL particles are created equal. As we discussed earlier, LDL particles can vary in size and density. Smaller, denser LDL particles are more prone to oxidation, a process that damages the particles and makes them more likely to adhere to the artery walls, contributing to plaque formation. Larger, less dense LDL particles, on the other hand, are less likely to be oxidized and pose a lower risk. Furthermore, focusing solely on cholesterol levels ignores the multifaceted nature of heart disease. Inflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance, and lifestyle factors all play significant roles in the development and progression of heart disease. Addressing these underlying factors, rather than simply lowering cholesterol levels, is crucial for mitigating risk. At the heart of metabolic health lies insulin sensitivity. Insulin regulates blood sugar and influences metabolic processes. Insulin sensitivity allows efficient glucose entry into cells. High refined carbs and sugars lead to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance increases the risk of chronic diseases. Improving insulin sensitivity enhances metabolic health. Key strategies include a healthy diet, exercise, and sleep. Prioritize whole foods and reduce refined carbs. Engage in regular physical activity and manage stress. A holistic approach optimizes metabolic health. understand the interconnectedness of our bodies for well-being. The 100-tablespoon butter experiment provided insights into fat metabolism and challenged beliefs about saturated fat. It underscores the importance of considering our metabolic health and insulin sensitivity. Blood work reveals valuable information about our health. Understanding these results helps us optimize our well-being. Embrace curiosity and become active participants in our health journeys. Knowledge is power. Seek guidance and listen to your body. Navigate health complexities for a vibrant future.